How was our 13-day cruise on the Holland America ship, the Nieuw Statendam, to visit 12 ports in 7 countries around the Baltic Sea? Hi everyone, this is Your World and welcome to it, where I talk about our visits to interesting places. I'm Bill Bernstein. I'll talk about what we loved and anything we wondered about on our cruise. And I can't get rid of this guy. Hi, this is AI Bill. I'm really the supervisor here. Get used to it, since I'm your future. Don't cut me off there. What are you trying to do? Sometimes he just gets carried away. This is about our cruise departing Rotterdam to visit Stavanger, Oslo, Aarhus, Berlin, Tallinn, Helsinki, Stockholm, Visby, Ronne, Hamburg, and Copenhagen. Before I talk about the details of the ship and the cruise, some words about Rotterdam, the embarkation port for the cruise. We arrived a couple of days before the cruise. We like doing that to take in the city as well as to make sure that any travel problems don't interfere with our arrival. We don't ever want to take the chance of missing the sailing. We took the opportunity to visit the botanical garden Keukenhof, mainly known as a tulip garden, and open only for about 3 months in the spring when the tulips are in bloom. We spent about half a day there enjoying everything. Boarding the Nieuw Statendam was a painless process that didn't involve much waiting in line. Part of this might have been because we paid extra for Club Orange, a benefit that is available on all Holland America ships. Some of the benefits of Club Orange include priority boarding, priority lines such as the guest services on board, dedicated concierge hotline, and priority disembarkation. But most valuable was the upgrade to any stateroom within the same category. For example, on this cruise, we booked the least expensive obstructed view veranda cabin and got an upgrade to the most expensive veranda cabin. The 3 newest Holland America ships, the Rotterdam, Koningsdam, and Nieuw Statendam, also have separate dining rooms for Club Orange, and the rest of the fleet has priority seating for Club Orange. It made a lot of sense to us and we think it's worthwhile. I will show you and tell you about all the places we visited and then give more of a tour and more details about the ship later on. If you like this video, please remember that subscribing is free. After leaving Rotterdam, in the evening of our first day at sea, we had dinner in Tamarind, the specialty restaurant with Asian-inspired food. More about this later. After a day at sea, our first port was Stavanger, Norway. Our excursion started with the Swords in Rock monument, comprised of 3 Viking swords forced into the ground more than 30 feet tall. This commemorates the place where Viking King Harald Fairhair defeated the last of the regional princes in AD 872 and founded the Kingdom of Norway by united the 29 small kingdoms under one small crown. Then we toured an Iron Age farm, recreating conditions from 1500 years ago. The port the next day was the capital of Norway, Oslo. We arranged a tour with the organization Tours by Locals and were met at the ship by Diana, our excellent guide. Walking away from the ship, we found out that this tree is artificial. Interesting. This is the group of us that toured the city together. Before touring the city, we went to the Vigeland Sculpture Garden, probably the highlight of our visit to Oslo. Just a few seconds to enjoy the sculptures here. Then we went on a walking tour of the city, seeing many of the highlights, including a brief stop at the spot where the Nobel Peace Prize is awarded. Other Nobel Prizes are given in Stockholm. The next day the ship docked at Aarhus, where we visited the old town, which is viewed as a living museum with houses dating from the 1600s. Then on to the Aarhus Modern Art Museum and a walk around the Rainbow Panorama Walkway. On our way back to the Nieuw Statendam, we were treated with a really delightful concert by students from the Music Academy next door to the port. Back on board, we found a towel animal made in the shape of a birthday cake for Kim's birthday, which was that day, of course. Overnight, we cruised to our next port, Warnemünde, from which we took the train to Berlin. After a drive through the city, we stopped at the Brandenburg Gate, then on to Checkpoint Charlie, a spot where during the Cold War people could cross from west to east Germany, and the opposite way. Then we visited an area where the remains of the Berlin Wall have been kept. That evening we saw something that is often seen from a ship at sea, a beautiful sunset. The port the next day was Tallinn, Estonia. We went to the memorial to the over 80,000 of the elite academics from Estonia who were deported to Siberia and killed there or were otherwise killed during the years when the country was part of the Soviet Union. Next was a walk through the old city of Tallinn and a nice view of the city. We really have a very warm memory of Tallinn. Then we sailed to Helsinki, where we drove through the city and had a look at the rock church built entirely into bedrock. The following day was Stockholm, where we had another tour with tours by locals, this time with a net. We visited the Nobel Prize Museum and other important places in the city. We walked through many areas and narrow streets in the city and heard a great deal about the kings and queens of Sweden.
And now it will be easy with the names of the kings here in Sweden. You can always guess.
Our visit the next day was to a town that was another favorite of ours for this cruise, Visby, Sweden, often referred to as medieval Visby, as it maintains the character of an ancient town in many ways. We visited an ancient burial ground outside the city with the standing stones before viewing the city walls and then walking through the city, and finally stopping for a few minutes in the new city park. Another small town, Ronne, was the port the following day. After a walk through the town, we took a shuttle back to the port. The next day for our visit to Hamburg, we docked at Kiel, from which we took a bus to Hamburg for our view of various parts of the city. I'll have a bit about Copenhagen, the last port after this tour of the ship. Our ship, the Nieuw Statendam, was one of the 3 Pinnacle-class ships, the newest class in the Holland America line. In addition to the main dining room and the Lido, or buffet, the specialty restaurants include the steakhouse, the Pinnacle Grill, the Italian restaurant, Canaletto, the seafood restaurant, Rue Sel de Mer, and the restaurant with Asian dishes, Tamarind. Tamarind was our favorite, and we had 2 dinners there, which we really enjoyed. There's also a sushi bar called Nami Sushi that is part of Tamarind. I had lunch either from the dive-in that serves burgers and hot dogs or at the New York Deli and Pizza. As I'm a vegetarian, I have to mention that the dive-in will make any of their burgers using Beyond Meat vegetarian patties. And the New York Pizza place will make any pizza using vegan cheese if asked. There's also a gelato bar near the pool. The Grand Dutch Cafe has many baked items that Kim really enjoyed. I mentioned earlier that we had Club Orange on this cruise and were very fond of that separate dining room and the attention to each guest there. In both the main dining room and Club Orange, there's a separate vegetarian menu with a good selection. Holland America ships also have a separate menu with Indian dishes, and I often had a South Indian dish, masala dosa, for breakfast, something I really like. Holland America ships have the World Stage, where the main entertainment events take place, B.B. King's Blues Club, which was usually very popular and crowded. I missed most of the night's entertainment, as I spend a few hours each night in the casino at the craps table. That's just part of what's fun for me and why I choose ships with tables. We always try to have a stateroom toward the middle of the ship, as Kim is prone to seasickness. Fortunately, she had no problem on this cruise, whether because of the bonine that she took regularly or due to the very calm seas. After disembarking in Copenhagen, on the drive toward our hotel, we stopped to see the famous statue of the Little Mermaid, based on the Hans Christian Andersen story, of course. After settling into our hotel, we went to Nyhavn, both for the beautiful view, scenery, and our lunch. Then walked to the Royal Palace. The next day we spent some time in Tivoli Gardens, the 3rd oldest amusement park in the world, which opened in 1843, probably the most popular tourist attraction in Copenhagen. Then it was time to go home. We enjoyed this cruise on the Nieuw Statendam, and we'll try to book in Club Orange on our future cruises on Holland America ships. I have several videos about our cruises, and there are many great YouTube channels about cruising you can check out. And here's that AI Bill again. Once he was created, he's just hard to get rid of. That's right, I'm definitely here. Here's your chance to take a look at some of my videos here. Why don't you take a look at our cruise on Oceania from Barcelona to Istanbul by clicking here, or if you're fairly new to cruising, there's a lot of information in this video. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, so long from all of us in your world.